Quite some time ago, a very good channel that I like to watch, CGP Grey, made a video called You Would Be a Terrible Ruler. Well, actually, it used to have a different title, but Grey often changes the titles and thumbnails of his videos to keep them relevant, and recently this video has resurfaced to my feed. I wonder why. So I watched it again, and now a legally grown-up me must say that it got some things wrong, especially the new title. Most of you would make better rulers. It's literally not that hard. If you haven't watched that video, let me catch you up real quick. The video first talks about kings. Kings have treasure, but a king himself has no way of using it, let alone gaining it. The king must rely on his court to do everything. They are the ones building roads, collecting taxes, enforcing laws, and so on. Well, technically no. They themselves are not the ones doing all that. The king's subjects are actually organizing their own subjects to organize their subjects to eventually have someone at the bottom of this chain to do the job. As a king, it is your job to make sure every line of command is working as one, but there are rules for every ruler. First, you don't need to be a babysitter for the entire country. Pick a few most influential people and gain their trust. They will be your keys to power. Second, your power lies in your treasure or any other commodity that you can take away. You are nothing without it. Third, if possible, keep the count of your keys low. The less keys there are, the less friction will be in your system, and the longer your career is likely to last. As a king, you may have dreams about fixing corruption or building schools and hospitals for the poor. However, the first people you have to think about are the people who give you this power, because without their support, you're nothing. So the common folk should be merely an afterthought for you. These rules apply to all leaders and rulers, from dictatorships to democracies, from presidents to even company managers. You may be a saint at heart with a vision for the future development, but if you don't satisfy a higher-ups quota or make mean enemies within your subordinates, your position won't last long.
This has been crystal clear so far. The original video itself actually mentions how this complicated and cruel world of politics is both exciting and soul-crushing to different people. But the recent title change, even though it is mostly a personal thing for me and was likely just for clickbait, just really doesn't sit well with me, and I feel like the video being named that kind of leaves a wrong idea of what an average person should be aspiring to do. Either way, there are some things in that video that CGP Grey got outright wrong. I believe everyone would agree that democracies are usually better than dictatorships for most people, because gaining power in a democracy happens to coincide with gaining trust of most people. On the other end of the spectrum, dictatorships consult the interests of the least number of people, so they are usually the worst countries to live in. In his video, CGP Grey has an entire segment dedicated to revolutionaries who will try to start coups, but will succeed only if the army lets them. But revolution should only start if the people are educated enough and have enough willpower to turn against their leaders. If a country is a total hell to live in, the people of this country won't even try to imagine a world where things are better. This country can sell its resources for profit, because the mines where those resources are found can work and dine slaves and require close to none education. This leads to the conclusion that only the worst of the dictatorships and the best of the democracies can survive, while everything in between falls to chaos. This conclusion is one of the most blatant textbook examples of Western propaganda that tries to paint the whole world black and white. Sure, living in Afghanistan or North Korea is a hell on earth, while living in Europe or United States is a bit better. So this must mean that the land of the free is the heaven sent by God, right? Westerners must live in a true perfect democracy where your vote definitely matters and the market crises that affect the entire world don't exist. As if. Now, seriously, there are a lot of logical fallacies in this conclusion. It implies that democracies have to be good enough to survive, which poses a question: when is good enough? Besides, you can't just look at a country that generates all of its income from selling resources and call that self-sustainable. All it takes is for your resources to run out of, or everyone to put sanctions on you, and your whole economy goes bankrupt. Moreover, this is an insane security concern, because you're basically allowing everyone alive on Earth to try and conquer your land, while the people you dragged your army from don't just not care about you. They can't even fight in the first place. All dictatorships are fundamentally less sustainable than democracies. So now, the more self-centered a ruler is, the worse he will perform. There is just no such thing as bad enough to stay, and there is definitely no such thing as good enough or too good. There's just better and worse. That's it. Compared to other animals, humans seem weak, slow, and stiff. The only real physical advantage of humans are their opposable thumbs for grabbing things and extreme stamina that made hunting packs of humans the equivalent of an immortal snail that is very slow but never stops chasing its prey. And once it catches up, it's over. But, apes have these advantages too, but you don't see them being on top of the food chain worldwide. The biggest perk of humanity is their social life. Humans have the most complex and fluid languages. Humans have the most intriguing mating rituals. Humans organize in groups to be stronger than anything in the world. Being able to work in a group, both as a leader and as a follower, is, in my opinion, the main property of any psychologically mature adult. This is my main point in this video. Being a leader is actually easy. Anyone can be good at this job because it's a natural skill of every healthy adult. Once again, you don't need to manage every single person in your domain. You just need to control a few, who will control a few, who will control a few more, etc., and eventually do the job for you. Now, I know that throwing approximations around isn't good practice, but I wouldn't want to offend anyone directly, so I won't be giving any real examples. An average corporate structure has around 5 degrees separation, meaning there are at least 3 people between the lowest earning employee and the CEO. And that means that you only need to remember 7 names to control over 2,000 people as a CEO. And if you had to be a president in a huge country, then there would be at least 10 degrees of separation or higher, meaning that the same 7 names would be enough to control over 40 million people. You just add more layers to the pyramid. Nothing extraordinary. Managing the work of 7 specialists, if you know some details of their work, should be not exactly easy, but easier than you may imagine. It's something any sane and intelligent adult wouldn't have too many struggles with. Sure, this is an outrageous oversimplification, but it shows the right picture. Being a leader is not that hard. With the right amount of getting used to, anyone has it in them to do it. However, this poses a serious question. Let's see how the system came to be in the first place. As mentioned, the job isn't hard for healthy adults at all. Then why can nobody do it right? First, ask yourself if you can call most modern leaders mentally or at least physically healthy adults. Does one need to be qualified to get this job? Absolutely not. You just need to have a lot of money to spend it on advertising and propaganda. Having a lot of money doesn't exactly correlate to being a good human being. Sure, most upper middle class people, especially self-made folks, can be good people. They are the ones that did the most with what they were given and generated the most revenue for themselves and others. Most billionaires, however, well, it's just mathematically improbable to gain that much net worth in a lifetime and still keep your conscience clear. There's some truth in every statement about the evil of billionaires, because at best, they are already causing harm to the economy by simply existing and hoarding all these resources from our limited system. The richest are statistically more likely to be evil, yet these are the people we elect to lead our lives. Go figure! Throughout humanity's history, civilizations, in order to survive, often strive towards efficiency of labor, basically getting more work done for less effort. If we were to think of each human as a cog in a giant machine, we would very quickly realize that centralization is the name of the game here. It allows the system to do different operations, while keeping the count of moving parts relatively low. This, however, comes at a cost. If the central piece ever goes out of order, the whole system comes to a halt. This risk is further increased when you realize that the central gears are constantly experiencing the stress of the entire system. It won't take too long until eventually any person succumbs to either physical illness due to stress or the intense temptations of moral degradation. Similar to physics, a gear doesn't have to do a lot of work to erode itself. All that matters is stress. You either go insane, worrying about every little thing, and die as sane, best case scenario, retire early and sign your career a goodbye, or otherwise you give in to these poisonous thoughts that you deserve to have so much more for way less, that you're better, that those spoiled bastards need to know who's running the show. And when your position holds that much power, these thoughts are inevitable. One man having significantly more power than others just generally leads to evil that hurts everyone. It's a thesis I'm working on right now. Systems always adapt and evolve with time, and when it seems like nothing good can be done with the old one, a new one is always born to replace it. A long time ago there was slavery in the ancient Roman times. However, eventually the system stopped working, and after one of the major economic crises was replaced by, for instance, feudal system in Europe, which was at first better, and despite the name Dark Ages, living there was not as bad as the media is trying to make it look. It only got worse eventually, just to be replaced by capitalism. So it's only natural that eventually capitalism will go out of fashion to be replaced by I don't know what. Either way, something different is definitely going to arise very soon, and you better be ready. As of right now, nobody knows what a new system is going to look like. I personally have some abstract ideas for something new, but I am yet to convert them into something that would make sense from an economic standpoint. For now, what I think about is just a bunch of graphs and abstract theories, not connected to any actual labor. So please note that I am not a major in economics. Me wondering about these things is just a hobby. My point is that I believe any morally good person can and will be a good ruler in most cases, and being able to become one, or wanting to become one, does not exactly correlate to being a good one at all. That's why I strongly disagree with CGP Grey's new title, but I'd still like to thank him for influencing my interests ever since I was a little kid. He seems like a nice guy, a good teacher to the core of his heart, and his channel is awesome, even though it's not the first time he was wrong. I doubt he'll ever see this, but thank you, and I hope this was somewhat useful or maybe entertaining to whoever stumbles upon this.
For some people, the ultimate goal in life has been becoming the President of the United States. Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the President who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country. They had major corporations and they had this and that, but they are not running for political office.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only 34. I know there's a lot of things that you possibly can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. And that's a sad commentary for the political process.
Television, in a strange way, has ruined that process, hasn't it?
It's hurt the process very much. I mean, the Abraham Lincolns of the world. Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man, and he did not smile.